H. Holmes, The Devil in the White City is a true crime book written in 2004 by Erik Larson, which focuses on the story of Herman Webster Mudgett, aka H. Holmes, and his crime spree during the Chicago World's Fair in 1893. So many multiple lives are repeatedly impacted by one decision to commit one murder. The pain of a violent murder echoes through the victim's family and friends, as well as the perpetrator's family and friends. These people will never be the same. I know because I lost my sister to a fatal rare disease, CJD, in 2016, and since then I have said everything is different. Erik Larson is the author of 5 other national bestsellers: The Splendid and the Vile, Dead Wake, In the Garden of Beasts, Thunderstruck, and Isaac's Storm, which have collectively sold more than 12 million copies. His books have been published in nearly 40 countries. I am Teresa, and welcome to the Canvas and Crime Chronicles. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you'll be alerted every time I upload a new video, and thanks for listening. Herman Webster Mudgett, better known by his alias Dr. Henry Howard Holmes, was born on May 16, 1861 in Gilmanton, New Hampshire. Holmes came from a relatively affluent family and was described as highly intelligent, but also deceptive and manipulative from a very young age. He was fascinated by medicine and anatomy, which led him to attend medical school at the University of Michigan. There he engaged in various fraudulent activities, including stealing cadavers to claim life insurance money. Holmes moved to Chicago in 1886, where he adopted his infamous alias, H. Holmes, and began working at a pharmacy. Using the profits from various fraudulent schemes, he purchased an empty lot across from the pharmacy and began constructing a 3-story building, which would later be known as the Murder Castle. The building's labyrinth design included soundproof rooms, secret passageways, trapdoors, and a dissection table in the basement. Holmes intended the building to be a hotel for the World's Fair visitors, but it became a house of horrors where he lured his victims to their tortured deaths. H. Holmes married several times and had children. His first wife was Clara Lovering. They were married on July 4, 1878 in Alton, New Hampshire, when he was about 19 years old. Clara was his first wife. They had a son, Robert Lovering Mudgett. Robert was born in 1880. He later became a certified public accountant and served as a city manager in Orlando, Florida. Unlike his father, Robert led a relatively normal and respectable life. Clara and H. separated soon after Robert was born, and Holmes moved to Michigan to attend medical school. His second wife was Myrta Belknap. They were married on January 28, 1887. Holmes married Myrta Belknap in Minneapolis, Minnesota, while still being legally married to Clara. Myrta and Holmes had a daughter together, Lucy Theodate Holmes. Lucy was born on July 4, 1889. She eventually became a school teacher, and Lucy, like her half-brother Robert, lived a life far removed from the notoriety of her father's criminal activities. Myrta and Holmes' marriage deteriorated, and she eventually moved back to her family's home, though they never officially divorced. Holmes' third wife was Georgiana Yoke, who he married on January 17, 1894. Holmes married Georgiana Yoke in Denver, Colorado, under the alias Harry Mansfield Howard. This marriage also occurred while he was legally married to his previous wives. Georgiana remained with Holmes until his arrest. Holmes' multiple marriages and children illustrate his ability to compartmentalize his life and maintain different personas, all while engaging in his criminal enterprises. Despite his many crimes and fraudulent activities, his immediate family members were largely unaware of the extent of his nefarious deeds until his arrest and subsequent trial. Before the chilling crime spree, H. Holmes held many jobs. He was a medical student and pharmacist. As a medical student, Holmes attended the University of Michigan's Department of Medicine and Surgery, where he developed a fascination with anatomy and dissection. During his time there, he engaged in insurance fraud by stealing cadavers and using them to make false insurance claims. After moving to Chicago, he became a pharmacist. Holmes worked at a drugstore, and his charm and medical knowledge helped him secure a position, and he eventually bought the pharmacy from the original owners under suspicious circumstances. H.H. Holmes was also well known as a con artist and fraudster. He was a master at insurance fraud. Holmes frequently engaged in insurance scams, including taking out policies on people, sometimes using aliases, and then arranging their deaths to collect the money. Holmes was also involved in various real estate schemes, often purchasing property with little intention of paying for it or by using fraudulent means. In the planning stages of the Chicago's World Fair, H.H. Holmes became a business owner. Holmes Castle Hotel, where he built a 3-story building in Chicago's Englewood neighborhood, was to be used as a hotel for guests of the World's Fair. He advertised it as a hotel for visitors to the World's Fair, but it was designed with secret passages, soundproof rooms, and trap doors for his crazy activities. Unfortunately, the hotel later became known as the Murder Castle. Holmes also established a glass-bending business factory, which he claimed was for making glassware. In reality, it was a front to dispose of bodies and cover up his crimes in the very, very hot ovens. For a time, Holmes was a patent medicine traveling salesman. Holmes traveled and sold patent medicines, using his charm and medical knowledge to convince people to buy his products. This role allowed him to move frequently and avoid detection. After moving on from Chicago, Holmes attempted to become the hotel operator of a hotel in Fort Worth, Texas. Holmes attempted to replicate his Chicago operations by constructing another hotel in Fort Worth, Texas, using the funds he swindled from Williams sisters, 2 of his victims. This project, however, was never completed due to his arrest. Last but certainly not least, Holmes was a teacher. Before attending medical school, Holmes briefly worked as a school teacher. With all his intelligence and variety of jobs, it was in the key role as a criminal mastermind where H.H. Holmes excelled. Holmes' primary occupation can be seen as that of a criminal mastermind. His various legitimate and semi-legitimate jobs were often fronts for his broader schemes involving fraud, theft, and murder. Holmes' ability to maintain multiple jobs and roles, combined with his intelligence and charisma, allowed him to carry out his crimes for years before being caught. His life was a complex web of deceit, making him one of the most notorious criminals in American history. The World's Columbian Exposition, also known as the Chicago World's Fair, was held in 1893 to celebrate the 400th anniversary of Christopher Columbus's arrival in the New World. It was a spectacular event showcasing advancements in science, industry, and culture. It drew millions of visitors from around the globe to Chicago. The fair was characterized by its stunning architecture, technological innovations, and the grand scale, earning it the nickname the White City. The entire World's Fair property was created, built, and developed in a multi-white color palette, and it was really quite breathtaking. While reading The Devil in the White City, I was as fascinated with the history of the Chicago's World's Fair and its creation as I was with the story of H.H. Holmes as one of the first known serial killers. The architects of the Chicago World's Fair, also known as the World's Columbian Exposition of 1893, were among the most prominent and influential architects of the time, and even of today. The chief architect was Daniel Burnham, who led a team of talented designers and planners. The key architects and engineers of the Chicago World's Fair are also known for many other projects that some of us may be more familiar with. Daniel Burnham, the director of the works for the Chicago World's Fair, also designed the Flatiron Building in New York City, one of the most iconic skyscrapers in New York, completed in 1902. He also planned Chicago in 1909, also known as the Burnham Plan. It was a comprehensive plan for the development of the actual city of Chicago, influencing urban planning practices nationwide. Burnham is also known for creating Union Station in Washington, D.C., a grand train station completed in 1907, known for its Beaux Arts architecture. John Wellborn Root, a partner in the firm Burnham & Root, initially involved in the fair's planning but sadly died before its completion, is known by other notable works. The Monadnock Building in Chicago, one of the tallest load-bearing brick buildings ever constructed, completed in 1891, and the Rookery Building in Chicago, known for its stunning central light court, completed in 1888. Frederick Law Olmsted acted as the landscape architect. Olmsted's other notable works include Central Park in New York City, co-designed with Calvert Vaux. Central Park is one of the most famous urban parks in the world. He designed Prospect Park in Brooklyn, another collaboration with Vaux, known for its naturalistic design, and the Biltmore Estate in Asheville, North Carolina. This landscape, designed by Olmsted, surrounds the largest privately owned house in the U.S. Charles McKim of McKim, Mead & White was the architect of the Agricultural Building. McKim's other notable works include the Boston Public Library, completed in 1895, known for its classical design and cultural significance, and Pennsylvania Station, also known as Penn Station, in New York City. The original station, completed in 1910, was a masterpiece of Beaux Arts architecture, which was unfortunately demolished in 1963. Richard Morris Hunt was the architect of the administration building for the Chicago World's Fair. Richard Hunt is known for a grand mansion for the Vanderbilt family, completed in 1895, called the Breakers in Newport, Rhode Island, and part of the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York City. He designed the facade and Great Hall, completed in 1902. Louis Sullivan was the architect of the Transportation Building. His other notable works include the Auditorium Building in Chicago, completed in 1889, which is a multi-use building known for its acoustically superb theater, and the Wainwright Building in St. Louis, completed in 1891. It's considered one of the first skyscrapers and a precursor to modern office buildings. George B. Post was the architect and the manufacturer of the Liberal Arts Building. His other notable works include the New York Stock Exchange Building, completed in 1903, and known for its grand facade and trading floor, and the Wisconsin State Capitol in Madison, completed in 1917, which features a stunning dome design. These architects not only shaped the Chicago's World's Fair, but also left a lasting impact on American architecture and urban planning. Their works are celebrated for their innovation, grandeur, and influence on future generations of architects. While the exact number of Holmes' victims remains unknown, several individuals are confirmed to have met their end in his murder castle. Julia Smythe, a former mistress of Holmes and wife of his business associate Ned Connor. Julia and her daughter Pearl disappeared in 1891. Emmeline Seagrand, a young woman who worked for Holmes and disappeared in 1892. Edna Van Tassel, another young woman who worked for Holmes and vanished. Anna and Minnie Williams, sisters from Texas, who were conned by Holmes into signing over their property to him. They disappeared in 1893. The Williams sisters' death and Holmes' ability to con them out of their fortune that enabled him to flee to Texas and start work on a new hotel. But then he was arrested, and there went those plans. Benjamin Pitzel, a business associate of Holmes who was murdered in Philadelphia as part of an insurance scam. Holmes also killed 3 of Pitzel's children. Holmes' killing spree lasted approximately from 1891 to 1894, a period of about 3 years. During this time, he committed numerous murders and engaged in various criminal activities, including fraud and theft. H. Holmes used a combination of charm, manipulation, and deceit to lure his victims into his clutches. H. Holmes was a very charming and charismatic man. He was known for his charm and good looks, which helped him win the trust and affection of many of his victims. He often presented himself as a successful and respectable doctor or businessman. He had the ability to be persuasive and convincing, and played a significant role in gaining the confidence of his victims. Holmes placed job advertisements in newspapers and often offered employment opportunities to attract young women to work in his hotel or businesses. He offered attractive positions and salaries which were particularly enticing to young women looking for financial stability and independence. Once they arrived, he would manipulate or coerce them into staying, sometimes leading to their eventual murder. Holmes had a way with the ladies too. He attempted to develop romantic relationships with several women, using these relationships to gain their trust. He proposed marriage to some, using the engagement as a means to control them and access their assets. Holmes' downfall began when he was arrested for a minor fraud charge in 1894. Investigators quickly uncovered his more sinister activities, leading to the discovery of the murder castle and its grisly contents. Holmes was tried and convicted for the murder of Benjamin Pitzel, though he confessed to 27 murders in total. He was sentenced to death and hanged on May 7, 1896. H. Holmes' story is a chilling tale of deception, murder, and the dark side of human nature. His exploits during the Chicago World's Fair remain one of the most notorious crime sprees in American history, cementing his legacy as one of the nation's first and most infamous serial killers. Thank you for listening to another episode of Canvas and Crime. If there's a story you would like to look into or recap, drop it in the comments. I avoid over-sensationalized serial killers and the overly popular stories, but feel free to offer suggestions, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you'll be alerted every time I upload a new video. Thanks again.